So we use 52-100 steel. It's one of the few steels still made in Sheffield. So fantastic carbon steel, holds a really good edge. We work it at about 1,000 degrees. So step one, turn on the forge. Forge the tang shape, which is the shape of the handle, and then we cut the material to length. We forge the profile as close to shape as possible, and once we've done that, we let the steel cool down very slowly. This anneals it, make sure it's very soft before moving on to the next stages. The next thing we have to do is grind the profile to the exact shape we want so that all the knives are as close to the same shape as possible. There's always variation when it comes to handmade products, but we like to get it as close as we can. So we then move over to the grinder, and using the abrasive belts, we grind the profile of the knife to get it to exactly the right shape. This is a shape we developed in collaboration with Fortis, going back and forth to find exactly what they wanted. From there, we drill the holes in the tang, ready to receive the Corby bolts and the lanyard tube, and then the knife goes into heat treat. There are 3 further stages of heat treat we have to do. We have the normalizing, where we refine the grain structure of the steel. We have hardening, where we cool the steel very quickly to make it hard, but that also makes it brittle. So the last step is tempering, where we reduce the hardness, but increase the toughness so that the knife can withstand the impact of use. After that, we're going to clean it up, and then we're going to grind the bevels. This is one of the most important steps in the process. This is where we take a flat, knife-shaped piece of steel and turn it into a usable tool. We grind the bevels at 12 degrees each side for a total bevel angle of 24 degrees, and we do a Scandi grind, which is like the jack of all trades, master of none, but still better than master of one type of grind. It will do everything. All of your bushcraft tasks, all of your hunting tasks, it will do it all. We're using some beautiful burr elm for the handle. It's a stunning wood, and elm has a really rich history throughout the UK. We stabilise it ourselves, so we impregnate it with resin, which makes the wood much more stable, so it's less likely to swell and contract with moisture changes in the air throughout the seasons, or if you take it to different climates. Once we stabilise the wood, we prepare it into our scales and glue that to some liner material, which acts as a movement buffer between the wood, which can move, and the steel, which doesn't. And so it increases the strength of the bond between the two. So once we receive the leather from JNFJ Baker, it gets cut out, and from there we start the finishing process. So we take our wax and we wax the leather, and that just gives it a weatherproof finish and softens it a little bit. From there, we bend over the belt loop and we stitch that down, and then we close up the sheath. We use water to help us bend the leather and form it around the shape of the final knife. We do everything by hand, so we glue in the welt and then we run our stitching run down the outside of the sheath. We do all our traditional saddle stitch by hand, so that if any stitches get cut or rubbed through in use, the whole stitching run won't unravel. Once we're done with the stitching, we burnish all the edges to prevent any mud and grit being able to get its way into the leather, and then we finish it all off with another load of wax before we fit the knife to the sheath. So So the leather takes 15 months from start to finish to go from raw hide to the leather that we use for the sheets. It goes through various tanning solutions from weak to strong, made from oak bark soaked in water from the local river. And that takes a long time, but it's what makes the leather such high quality and such long lasting. After that, it goes through various stages to impregnate it with grease and to smooth out the lumps and bumps. So the final product is the highest quality leather you can get anywhere in the UK. Once we've prepared our scales and we've glued them onto our liners, we drill all the holes we need for the bolts and bolt that onto the knife blade using epoxy resin to help secure it. Then we move on to shaping the handle. So we use the belt grinders and use the abrasive belts, and we sculpt the handle, removing wood where we need to so it fits the hand really well. When you're using a knife, it should feel like an extension of yourself, and shaping the handle on the grinder is where that really comes together. The last step for the knife is finishing the wood. So we use a gunstock finish. It's a 4-stage process using 4 different oils to impregnate the wood, which increases the richness of the colour and protects it against moisture in the field. It takes about a week to apply the final finish on the handle, but once it's done, it's ready for generations of use.
So process of Fortis. It could be anyone from all walks of life for the outdoors. They go through our selection, our collection of bits and bobs, and they choose a product. They'll choose the colour, they'll choose the size, we'll make amendments if they ask us to, or any bespoke bits on the garment itself. And then we cut and sew it and send it to them. So that process is all made here in Devon, England, and we're very proud of the fact. We're farm diversification, and we've been making in this, what was once a barn, for nearly 30 years. Fortis have linked with Thorn Wood Forge for a few reasons. They are local to us, which is a great start, but the authenticity of us making a product all the way from start to finish, so scratch, all the way to that garment being out there used and abused around the world. They're doing exactly the same, it's all from scratch. It's a very authentic way of seeing something from the raw materials all the way up to the end product, and it was a really nice connection for both of us at being locals and finding an important process, that skill and work behind products like these. And it's an important message that we would like to bring together in a product.